Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Will and today I'm going to be talking about my mid-month update for April. So what I've read so far, what I'm currently reading and what I'll be reading next. I've read 5 books already, it's an awesome reading month. Already, we're on the 17th of April. I've really dived into a lot of books that have been on my TBR for quite a while as I've had a few weeks off of uni. But then I've been good balancing it with the uni reads as well. And quite an ambitious pile I want to get through for the rest of this month. It's been awesome in terms of quantity and quality. And it's been my best reading month of 2025 so far. So let's get down to business. Let's talk about what I've read so far in April. So, A Song of Legends Lost is a new release. It was released in April. I was very lucky to get an early arc in return for an honest review. A Song of Legends Lost is a bit of what you can tell by the title, really. The magic, the fantastical element is that our characters, or some of them in this world, can harken back to the spirits of their ancestors and summon them to help them in the present, usually for a martial reason. So it helps them in battle, it helps them with magical powers, that sort of thing. But only the noble families can do this and the low bloods cannot. There's a clear hierarchy here. Right from the get-go, the world building is fantastic. There are a lot of different kind of stratas in the hierarchy, in the social echelons of the society. And you can tell straight away, not all is as it seems. There are many constructs that these characters must follow, but who has made them and is it really necessary? That's a big question in this. MHI Inde does a fantastic job of the world building and the mysteries. That is a core part of this story. There are breadcrumbs that lead you to huge climaxes, huge revelations that really hit hard, more than most books I've read in fantasy. And that was done excellently. You can tell that she is a fantastic writer. She really pulled the plot together. It's quite a big book, but there doesn't feel like there's too much fat. It really feels like she stripped it down to what's necessary, what is important, and what pushes the story further. And I really, really love to see that. The characters are great as well. I really enjoyed that seeing a range of characters in terms of their positions in society. We've got those at the top, those at the bottom, those partway through, those just trying to avoid danger, those throwing themselves into it for high risk, high reward. I did have an issue with some of the structural choices. There's one of my favourite characters we didn't see for about 200 pages, which I thought was a bit of a strange choice. And so after you built that initial momentum, it dropped a bit for me and then built up again. But I've heard many people say their favourite characters are actually some of the others. So you probably won't have that issue that I did. But really, it's a great new epic fantasy release for 2025. And then I read Children of the Eagle Moon, which is the finished manuscript of the first book my brother Ed has written, and so it's in the very early stages, but it was awesome. I can't say anything else because it'll be heavily edited and hopefully you'll be reading it one day, but really proud of him. He's done an excellent job and he brought tears to my eyes. He says that I'm very willing to critique his work, which I will, because I think that is the way to go to improve. But really, it was sensational and it is incredible to see where his writing has gone, and I cannot wait for people to eventually see it when it is ready and polished. But yeah, The Children of the Eagle Moon, it just brought everything that me and Ed love in fantasy, and it's been incredible to see him kind of mould it to his own really creative world with such an immersive story. And as I said, I'm very proud, and that is Children of the Eagle Moon. Looking forward to talking about it in more detail in the months and years to come. And then I've got Ascendant by Michael R. Miller, book 1 of the Songs of Chaos series. This was so good. It's marketed as kind of YA, a bit like Aragon, and I do see kind of why. I'd say that this is adult fantasy, but young adults can read it. It's not YA in terms of the stereotypes and the traits we see in YA. It is so good. At the beginning, it felt like nostalgic classic fantasy. It felt warm. It had kind of all those feelings I associate with the series I grew up on. And that was awesome to see. But do not be afraid. It is not just a regurgitation of fantasy of the past. This is fresh. This is new. This has nuance. And it adds really fresh elements to this story. It's just so good. I loved it, and I cannot wait to read book 2, Unbound. But we've got a young boy, he's a peasant, he wishes he could be a dragon rider, and he looks up to those that are visiting where he lives, that are dragon riders, that are legendary, and he wishes he could have his own dragon. And I'm sure you've guessed, he does find a way to have his own dragon. But the twist is, this dragon is blind and would have been thrown away. And I love that really different take. And we definitely don't have a chosen one trope here. We have some aspects where these characters are certainly different from the others and they stand out and people are shocked at what they can achieve. But it didn't feel like that chosen one. They can do everything the best. It feels earned, and it feels like it's really worked into the world building and the setting that we are thrust into. And I thought that was really excellent. Michael R. Miller writes really well. It's quite stripped back, but it just works. It's so good. And yeah, another great read of 2025. Another great read of April, to be more specific. And then I've got Beowulf, which I have reread for uni. I've got an essay coming up soon, scarily soon. And so I read through Beowulf again, the Seamus Heaney translation, and the colour-coded kind of my different points in the essay, so I can go for specific translations, specific lines, that I can translate myself. But these are the key moments that I'll be looking at in my essay, which is focused on the values that Beowulf celebrates and if they are civilised or not. Quite an interesting essay question. We'll see if I can write an interesting answer. That's the hard part. But yeah, Beowulf is just so good. I love that every single time I read it. I've read quite a few different translations. I always pick up something new, and there's something else that takes my focus, and I do have uni to thank that for in this occasion, because I was focused on those themes. And there's so much depth to Beowulf. You can look at it from a fantastical perspective, from a historiographical perspective, and you can look at it from kind of the history of literature as well. And obviously it gives us a lens into society at the time. Or does it? That is the question. But yeah, there we go. This is just so good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be reading Beowulf many times in the future as well. And then last up for the books that I've read so far in April, I've got Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. This was recommended to me by Chris and Mad's incredible channel. I'm sure you're following them already. I did a chat with them, with my brother Ed, on the Brothers Gwynne, the siblings talking about books, annoying each other a little bit, which was awesome to see. It was an incredible chat. They're so interesting to talk to. And I picked up Man's Search for Meaning because of their recommendation. And this is non-fiction. Viktor E. Frankl was in the concentration camps in World War II, and he writes about his experiences, but not because he wanted to give a autobiography of his own life. It's because of the discoveries he found he made, the psychological discoveries about what it means to be human and what allows us to go on. And he uses his own experiences to kind of anchor where he made these revelations, to give evidence. And it is utterly incredible. It is such a tragic story, and at times it brought tears to my eyes, and so much sadness that Viktor E. Frankl went through this, and obviously talking about World War II and the atrocities committed. But this is more than that inspiring. It is just... I hope this changes me. I've thought about it every day since I've finished it, and I do feel like I just want to take some of the lessons from Man's Search for Meaning, and it really shows the power of literature. It is one that I think that if you're in a position mentally that you think you can deal with these quite dark themes, I think it should be compulsory reading, basically. It is absolutely exceptional, and yeah, there's just not enough words for it, really. It has such an impact on you, and I don't think anyone would read this and not feel that. But yeah, that's Man's Search for Meaning, and they are the 5 books that I've read in April 2025. And now, getting into what I'm currently reading. I'm 1 page in, but I've started The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Oh my gosh, I have been waiting to read this. Very lucky to have an early arc of this by Joe Abercrombie. I cannot wait to dive in. Cannot wait to read this. Ed already has. He said that he's waiting to say his thoughts until I've read it, and then we can really have a great chat. But wow, yeah, Joe Abercrombie, one of my favourite authors, with a new series, New World. Wow, it is big times. It is big times. This will be one of the biggest releases of 2025 in the fantasy genre, and probably of all genres combined. I'm seeing just everyone just are so excited for this release, and it seems to embrace Joe Abercrombie style. So I'm really looking forward to picking up The Devils. And then I am so nearly finished with Dracula by Bram Stoker. This has been in my TBR pile for years. Recently, I've watched Nosferatu, which was directed by Robert Eggers, and I watched Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola version, and I've been feeling, the vampire need. And so, of course, had to go to the root material and read Dracula. I don't know why it's taken me so long. This is utterly exceptional. Of course, it is dated in some ways, the social constructs, that is sexist in many ways, but it also shocked me how it didn't really feel like a Victorian novel in many ways. I've read quite a few, and this seemed to go against a lot of the constraints of what I see as limitations of Victorian literature. It is fast-paced. I love the range of characters. I love that it's in a letter form, epistolary form, where we see the story tied together through the diaries and the messages of the characters involved. I thought that was so awesome. I'm very close to the end. I love how Dracula is built up, and in many ways it's quite different to what I expected, but in ways that has pleasantly surprised me. Like in the adaptations, I've seen Renfield as a character. I've always seen him as a bit irrelevant, but now I see why he's so important because of this. I do love some of the adaptations, but I think I would say this beats them all. It's absolutely exceptional. I've been listening to the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula soundtrack as I've been listening to it as well. It's been so cool. But yeah, Dracula, exceptional, classic for a reason. It feels more modern than the 19th century. It feels like it could be quite a modern novel if you take up some of the social aspects that are dated. Feels like one that everyone could enjoy now. And I felt pretty freaked out whilst reading this. And now getting into what I'm reading next, I am making the dive back into the realm of the Elderlings. The patrons for the Brothers Gwynne voted that my next audiobook is this. I put a few options up, and basically Ed's reading Live Ship Traders, and I cannot let him get away with it because I haven't yet. And so I read the Farseid trilogy 5 or 6 years ago now. 6 years, I think. Or 7. It might have been 7 years ago. Wow, time has flown. Anyway, the time doesn't actually matter. But that means that I feel like the story is still kind of fresh in my mind in some ways because of how much I loved it. I remember specific scenes so clearly. But I thought on the ones that I'm rereading, I will listen to, and then I'll read physically the Live Ship Traders. So I'm going to be listening to the Farseid trilogy for the first time, and I cannot wait to dive back in. Fitzburrich, I cannot wait to meet all the characters again. Regal, not as excited to meet him because he makes me angry, to say the least. But yeah, Assassin's Apprentice, cannot wait to dive back in. I'm almost a little scared. It's a series that I hold in such high regard. I'm a little bit nervous to see if I will love it as much. I really think I'll love it more. Because the themes, it is such a character work and quite psychological, and it's about the character development that I think that hopefully I've matured a bit in the last 7 years, and so hopefully they will hit home a bit more and I may kind of get even more from this journey than I did the first time round. But yeah, that is Assassin's Apprentice, the book that I'll be reading next as an audiobook. And then I will be reading Blood Over Bright Haven. This has been big in the bubble that we interact with and beyond. It's been selling so well. People are raving about it, and this is another one that Chris and Mads recommended me. My brother Ed is currently reading this. He started, I think, yesterday, and he said this is so good. It's the first book in quite a while that he stayed up late reading. I love The Sword of Cargan by Emma Wang, and this is another standalone, and we need more standalones in fantasy. Look at those edges, that's going to make it even better. But Blood Over Brighthaven, I really cannot wait to dive in. Dark academia, some unique premises, and I've heard it's very hard hitting as well. And so really looking forward to finally diving into Blood Over Brighthaven. Quite a lot of fantasy on the list. But then turning into, it's still fantasy, but childhood fantasy. I've got Through the Looking Glass. I've already read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and for uni, preparing for exams, I'll be reading Through the Looking Glass, the sequel basically. And yeah, I really enjoyed Lewis Carroll's writing style. I thought that he's just crazy. How logic is used in a way that is illogical. That paradox, that juxtaposition was handled so well. Lewis Carroll was a mathematician. I believe he was a professor at Oxford. And so through the years, there are these kind of logical solutions that he realised in some situations are illogical, and then kind of piled them all up and has put them into this crazy story that I cannot believe it's written for children, because it was confusing me at times, but in a way where, in a good way, somehow, it was bonkers. But this is absurd fiction, and I cannot wait to read through The Looking Glass. And then I've got another uni read. This is Middlemarch. I've decided that I've got so many physical reads that I'm going to listen to this and kind of pick out the bits that I think are most important for my exam, and then physically read them so I can write the quotes down, underline, that sort of thing. Not physically underline. I would never mark a book in that way, but I'll write the quotes down so I've got a nice list without damaging this beautiful book. But Middlemarch, often called the magnum opus of Victorian literature, it's got a lot to live up to, and I'm not going to expect it to be my favourite of Victorian literature, but I'm going in with high hopes. So I'm looking forward to diving into Middlemarch. And then I think that is everything. It is. So that is what I've read so far, what I'm currently reading, and what I'll be reading next. And so hoping to read 11 books in April. Very ambitious, but a lot of it is uni stuff, so it's that time that I would usually be taking up my time. It's being attributed to reading, and so hopefully I can reach that goal. I've got a lot of reading done so far in the month and looking forward to the rest. But please let me know how your reading in April has been going and what has been your favourite read or the one that you're most looking forward to picking up. But everyone, thank you so much for watching. Carpe diem.